one I think is relatively easy to predict, although, happy to have egg on my face after Saturday night is all said and done. And that is the probable fight for an IBF interim title / final eliminator / maybe the real title, although Frank Warren doesn't seem to think so, between the IBF number one, Filip Hrgovic, and Britain's own Daniel Dubois. And if anyone is kind of a standard bearer for the good work that Frank Warren has done in getting his fighters into good positions, even after they've lost, it surely is Daniel Dubois. Eamon, how do you weigh this fight up?
This is a real difficult fight, and it depends on which side of the coin, especially with some of the conversations I've had with people, because when it comes to talking about Filip Hrgovic, there's so many people have asked questions about fights that he's been in, and depending on who you speak to, he's either a manufactured, well-maneuvered heavyweight who isn't a top-level heavyweight but has found himself in a good position, or he's a real danger man who's been avoided and other people want to see other fighters take him on before they get in the ring with him. It depends what side of the coin you look at it, and I don't really know where Hrgovic is. I've seen Hrgovic with my own eyes when I went to watch Usyk versus Joshua 2 against Zhilei Zhang, and for me, I thought he was beat by Zhilei Zhang, who is now to be found, although he's had a good bit of momentum, has been beaten by Joe Parker. It sort of kind of puts everyone to a level to a degree. Now, in that fight as well, you've got to caveat it slightly that Hrgovic maybe shouldn't have been in the ring on the night because his father died weeks beforehand, and that does affect fighters. See Ante Yard versus Lyndon Arthur and the way that the return fight happened. But then again, you got Daniel Dubois as well too, who, look, for a lot of people, and for myself, he's removed a lot of the question marks surrounding him. There are still some surrounding him. And I think Filip Hrgovic will add more question marks to him to the level that he's at. And you've got to add into the mix as well this sparring story. Now, we hear a lot of whispers about sparring stories. We hear a lot of whispers about the truth of them. But this one seems to be real in that Filip Hrgovic and Daniel Dubois sparred many years back. This is when Dubois was 17, keep in mind. And it seems like Hrgovic got the top side of that spar, and the top side meant that Daniel Dubois was on the canvas and he was sent to hospital. Now, for a fighter like Daniel Dubois, who I guess maybe doesn't really fully have the confidence there just yet, might that creep into his mind if the going gets tough? What will he do when the going gets tough? He's rose to the occasion recently against Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller isn't what Filip Hrgovic is. He has different assets. He's proven himself further than Jarrell Miller has. And I just wonder what those moments might mean for Daniel Dubois. For right now, I'm going to back Daniel Dubois to rise to the occasion, but it's not a solid pick here. But I think Daniel Dubois' power, I think Daniel Dubois' youth and athleticism will see him through the fight in moments as well where he might actually have to climb up off the canvas to deliver his big punches. But Hrgovic can easily win this fight by knockout just as much as Daniel Dubois can. But for me, the decision, or my prediction, will be that Daniel Dubois does come through it with a KO.
Wow. So that's Warren off the mark on Eamon Khan's card. God, that's not easy to say. Yeah, very, very interesting one there. I mean, I'm going to go, obviously, in completely opposite direction because Eamon and I haven't agreed at all on any of these predictions so far. But I'm not just doing it to be churlish or contrary, but yeah, I mean, I find it very hard to see. I think this could be something of a coming out party for Filip Hrgovic. I think in the defeat in the fight with Zhilei Zhang, which many people thought he should have lost, so I'm among them. I felt he faded alarmingly at times and seemed distracted. And we found out, obviously, that he was still dealing with issues surrounding the passing of his father, which I think would be difficult for anyone. But Zhang's obviously came on since and showed himself to be a talented, dangerous operator. But Hrgovic is a really good all-round fighter. He was a top amateur as a senior, which Dubois wasn't. He was a top junior. And again, as we've talked about that Frank Warren model, he turned over quite young still. And I just think Hrgovic all-round is a far superior, I'd have to say, fighter than Daniel Dubois, especially because he's far more experienced, both as an amateur and a pro. I think he's developed those skills over a long period. Apparently, he's been looking really good out in Houston, sparring under the tutelage of Ronnie Shields. And Dubois, like it or not, and this will probably follow him around for the rest of his career, there are question marks around the mindset. I would never say a boxer's got, worries or concerns about his guts or his heart and all that sort of stuff, because I think you have to have a tremendous amount of heart to even get in there at any sort of level. But I think there is a mindset question because of the way he responded to resilience against not just Joe Joyce when his orbital bone was broken, of course, but in some of his other fights as well. There was he showed a certain amount of mettle against Jarrell Miller. That was heartening to see. But there's been the fight with Kevin Lorena, of course. There were some issues there. And if you look through his career, there's been some issues. Once he started fighting people that hit back and offered him some problems, I think he struggled. And those question marks are always going to be there. Whereas Hrgovic can say he's been up against adversity. He's had his mental struggles in the ring. But against Zhang, whether he should have got the decision or not, he certainly pushed him close. Never looked close to getting stopped either. He's very solid, Hrgovic. He's not always the most dynamic. He's not always the most exciting to watch. But he's exceptionally solid and robust for a heavyweight. And he does everything well, if nothing spectacularly. And I fancy him to get the job done. It depends if Dubois kind of gets disheartened or even gasses out in the second half of the fight. It's always hard to pick a decision in a heavyweight fight, but I think I probably will go for Hrgovic to win on points in this one, which gives another point to Eddie Hearn. He starts to claw back that gap on my scorecard against Frank Warren. But I've still got Warren in a healthy lead going into the final fight we're going to talk about, although his captain is, of course, involved. And we'll get to that in a sec, but let me have a look at the chat. Sam Humphrey says, if you listen to sparring stories, Martin Bacoli is the greatest fighter of all time. Well, it depends who's telling those sparring stories, Sam Humphreys. If it's Billy Nelson, then yeah, sure. iBoxing Hub says, we're live most days on our channel. Would be great to see you get involved, bro. Which bro? Bro me or bro Eamon? Let us know, bro. We're cool to do it. Take Ames. Eamon, look at Eamon multitasking. This is a real hard fight for me to pick. Well, there you go. Triple D versus Anderson in a hype eliminator match, says Pace Styles. Tech Test. Oh, maybe it was Tech Test that was being asked. He says, I'm a huge Dubois fan, so I pray he wins, but Hrgovic is a better boxer, so I'm going Hrgovic on a close points decision. I've got to say, Tech Test, you've mangled the spelling of Hrgovic's name there, but I've got to agree with you. Hrgovic close points decision is basically what I had. Thunder Road is saying he's just subscribed to iBoxing Hub's channel. He's a good guy, Thunder Road. He'll get those likes up. Jackie Boy Johnson says Hrgovic is the common sense pick. I mean, I am known for my common sense, Jackie Boy. DB Cooper 1's finally joined us. He's just realised it's 4 o'clock as well. Afternoon, chaps. Just grow that beard back, Eamon, mate. Don't rule out Dubois. He's got a yellow Porsche and a Brazilian bird. DB Cooper 1's like a throwback from the 70s, isn't he? You know, you got your Brazilian bird. Bit of an Alan Partridge, maybe. Thunder Road says, can Filip take Daniel into deep waters? If he does, Dubois will revert to type and take a knee. I mean, Thunder Road, that's the one thing you don't want to do in deep waters. From my water safety training that I've had, you don't want to take a knee. What else? Billy Nelson makes Bob Arum look sane, says DB Cooper 1. I think you're kind of pushing it a little bit there, mate. We all watched Bob Arum at the weekend. But we're going to talk about that in the last segment of the show.